if I told you to get rid of, I don't know, a leaking car battery, a huge tangled ball of burnt out Christmas lights, and like 20 empty liquor bottles.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds like the aftermath of a really weird party.
Right. But your first instinct probably wouldn't be to just load all of that stuff into the back of your car and drive it over to a local toy store on a Sunday afternoon.
No, definitely not. I mean, you just wouldn't normally associate hazardous waste disposal with a place that sells, vintage action figures.
Yeah, exactly. But that is exactly what we're looking at today, so welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one. It's a really fun topic.
Yeah, so you know that feeling when you're like walking out of a local diner, or maybe you're waiting in the vestibule of a community center and you just happen to glance over at the community corkboard?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The one with a million things pinned to it.
Yes, exactly. It's usually this chaotic, overlapping mosaic of paper. You've got dog walking services, someone selling a gently used couch, maybe flyers for amateur guitar lessons with those little tear-off phone numbers at the bottom.
Right, the ones where half the numbers are already ripped off.
Yeah. And most of the time, your eyes just glaze right over it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just becomes visual white noise. We are so conditioned to ignore those bulletin boards because the information just feels so hyperlocal and, frankly, almost mundane.
Mundane is the perfect word, honestly, until you actually stop and look. So today, our mission is to basically stand in front of that proverbial corkboard and decode one single, incredibly fascinating slice of everyday life.
Which is just a great exercise in observation, really.
It is. We have a promotional flyer for a local community e-waste collection day. And by zooming in on this one very specific piece of everyday marketing, we're going to uncover how our communities actually organize themselves.
Right.
And, the complex psychology of what we actually consider waste and the genuinely brilliant ways that local businesses drive foot traffic.
Yeah, because when you really parse the details of this flyer, it stops being just a random piece of paper taped to a wall.
Exactly.
It starts acting like this high-resolution diagnostic scan of our modern consumer habits and, honestly, the friction of our everyday lives.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the central irony of this flyer, it just hits you the second you look at the top half.
Oh, absolutely.
This is not a municipal dump running an official city-sponsored e-waste drive. This isn't the city sanitation department stepping up to help the neighborhood out. Right?
Yeah, a little.
This event is being hosted by a store called Noble Toys, which is quite literally a toys and collectibles shop.
Right.
And they're teaming up with an entity called Little Gray Workhorse. And based on the giant photo right at the top of the flyer, Little Gray Workhorse is just a guy with a black utility trailer.
Yeah, well, what's fascinating here is that this flyer is a perfect microcosm of grassroots circular economics.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, think about the scale of normal municipal waste systems. I mean, they are massive, they're highly regulated, and just heavily bureaucratic.
Oh, definitely. So much red tape.
Right. And when those top-down official systems become too slow or too inconvenient, or their hours of operation are just, simply incompatible with a normal working person's schedule.
A vacuum opens up.
Exactly. A vacuum opens up. And in that vacuum, independent operators and local businesses step in. They are essentially creating temporary pop-up infrastructure to handle the physical byproduct of our modern lives.
It really is an incredible alliance. Let's look at the specific logistics here, because they're great. The event is scheduled for Sunday, May 31st, from 12 noon to 5 p.m.
A very specific window.
Very. And the location is Noble Toys at 266 Queen St. South in Bolton. They even include the phone number right there, 905-252-5644.
Classic flyer design.
Yeah, and the flyer features a photo of the storefront, and it's this classic, very inviting red brick single-story retail building. It has a bright yellow sign and these large glass windows where you can see all the displays inside. It looks exactly like the kind of place you'd want to spend a lazy Sunday afternoon browsing for rare comic books.
Yeah, it's a destination deliberately built around nostalgia and leisure and just pleasure.
But parked right outside, or at least, featured directly next to the storefront on the flyer, is this stark, purely functional black utility trailer.
Little Gray Workhorse.
Little Gray Workhorse. And they provide a Facebook link and an email address, haroldjanes@gmail.com. So you basically have Harold with his utility trailer partnering with a retail toy shop.
It's quite the visual contrast.
It feels like an Avengers team-up of suburban chores. You are combining the absolute joy of buying cool collectibles with the absolute drudgery of throwing out your trash.
Yeah, it's wild.
So, I mean, is this just a totally random pairing because the shop owner and Harold happen to be buddies, or is there a functional strategy to hosting a waste collection event at a retail storefront?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is incredibly strategic, regardless of how organically the relationship might have started out.
Really? How so?
Well, if you look at the mechanics of waste management, the biggest logistical hurdle is always collection. Like, how do you get heavy, awkward material from 100 different suburban garages to one central point without spending an absolute fortune on fuel and labor?
Oh, I see. You make the people bring it to you.
Exactly. But they won't bring it to a dark alley or a random empty dirt lot, you know?
True. That would feel super sketchy.
Right. So the trailer provides the heavy lifting logistics. The little gray workhorse is the mobile infrastructure. But Noble Toys provides the essential ingredient, which is a centralized, safe, and trusted community hub.
Oh, wow. So it's a totally symbiotic relationship.
Very much so.
Harold gets a highly visible, static, paved location for 5 hours to aggregate material efficiently. And Noble Toys gets to transform their front parking lot into a destination for a necessary household chore.
Bringing potential customers right to their front door.
Yeah. It's a brilliant synergy of local retail and micro-logistics. I mean, they are solving each other's primary business problems.
Yeah.
Harold needs supply, and Noble Toys needs foot traffic.
Exactly. Which actually brings us to the actual payload.
Right.
Because Noble Toys is offering the real estate and Harold has the trailer, but what are they actually expecting people to bring to a toy store?
Yeah, let's talk about that because as your eyes move down this flyer, the visual layout is just amazing.
It really is something.
They call it an e-waste collection day, and they show a picture of old electronics. But they didn't show, like, a generic, sleek 5-year-old smartphone.
Oh, no.
They chose an image of a spectacularly dated, incredibly chunky beige desktop monitor, complete with a beige keyboard and a computer mouse with a physical coiled wire.
Yeah, it is the universal visual shorthand for obsolete technology.
Totally.
When you see that specific heavy CRT monitor, it instantly bypasses your logical brain and triggers a very specific memory of something taking up space in a basement or a closet. It's a very strong emotional cue.
It definitely triggers a memory for me. I can feel the back pain just looking at it.
Right.
But then the flyer heavily expands the definition of e-waste. Right below the desktop computer, it lists beer and pop cans and bottles.
Which is definitely not e-waste.
No. And beside that, wine bags, containers, and bottles. And then a separate, specific category for liquor bottles, complete with an image of what looks like a whiskey bottle and a wine bottle sitting directly next to a black car battery.
The juxtaposition there is just striking. I mean,
Yeah.
a car battery and a wine bag are fundamentally different chemical and material problems.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you look at the full list, chunky old computers, beer cans, liquor bottles, power tools represented by a green cordless drill, dead car batteries, and a massive tangled green pile of wire, electric cords, and Christmas lights.
It's quite the list.
It is, and this is not a standard municipal recycling list. A city sanitation website categorizes things by material, right? Like glass, aluminum, corrugated cardboard.
Yeah, the official category.
Yeah. But this reads exactly like an inventory of a neglected suburban garage. It is literally the anatomy of a weekend cleanout.
Yeah, you've identified the exact psychology driving this collection list. They aren't categorizing by material at all. They have basically created a typology of disposal friction.
Disposal friction. Okay, wait, so you mean the literal physical effort of lifting a 50-pound CRT monitor? Because honestly, hauling it to a toy store doesn't seem any physically easier than hauling it to the dump.
No, the physical weight is only a really small part of it. Friction, in a behavioral economic sense, is anything that makes an action harder to complete.
Okay.
It primarily focuses on cognitive load and structural barriers. So when it comes to everyday waste, we all know the protocol for a banana peel, right?
Sure, compost or trash.
Right. And we all know the protocol for a piece of junk mail. The municipal bins are right there in your kitchen, but the items on this flyer, these are the orphans of the waste stream.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Because you absolutely cannot put a dead lead-acid car battery in your curbside blue bin.
Definitely not.
And you definitely shouldn't throw an old CRT monitor, which is full of toxic heavy metals, into the regular trash compactor.
Precisely. You know you aren't supposed to throw them in the regular garbage. You feel a very real sense of environmental guilt about doing so.
Yeah, you really do.
But what is the alternative? Taking a car battery to a specialized, city-run household hazardous waste facility often means navigating a super confusing municipal website, only to find out the facility is open on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 9 a.m. and 11:30 a.m.
Which is a massive structural barrier. Spending 2 hours on a Tuesday morning driving to an industrial park just to throw away a battery feels like a punishment. Like,
Exactly.
no one who works a standard job can actually do that. So what happens? The item just goes into the garage.
It goes into the garage or, it goes into the doom box in the
The
basement.
doom box, yes.
Yeah, and it just sits there,
Yeah.
generating a low-level, persistent psychological burden. It is clutter that you literally do not know how to ethically dispose of. So by grouping dead car batteries with wine bags, liquor bottles, and old computers, the organizers of this flyer are explicitly targeting that psychological burden. They're essentially offering to alleviate your household guilt.
That is such a fascinating way to frame it. And I have to point out the specific call-out for Christmas lights, because there is an actual picture of a tangled ball of green wire on this flyer.
Yeah, the classic tangled lights.
Right. Like, imagine you are standing in your garage staring at a tangled ball of green wires where half the bulbs are burnt out. Why on earth does a flyer specifically call out Christmas lights alongside heavy machinery and liquor bottles?
Well, because Christmas lights are arguably the ultimate high-friction item in modern recycling. Think about how they are manufactured.
Just cheap plastic, right?
Yeah, cheap plastic, bits of glass, and thin copper wire, all permanently fused together.
Yeah.
If you throw them into a standard municipal recycling bin, they don't just fail to be recycled, they actively destroy the system.
Wait, really? They destroy it.
Yeah, they wrap around the spinning star screens and gears of the automated sorting machines at the recycling plant, causing complete mechanical shutdowns. They are a total nightmare for city infrastructure.
Oh, wow. But wait, Harold wants them. Why does Harold want a nightmare?
Because Harold is engaging in the arbitrage of trash.
Arbitrage of trash. I love that.
Yeah. For an independent scrapper or a microaggregator, that thin copper wire inside the Christmas lights has tangible commodity value on the secondary metals market.
Ah, okay.
But to get that value, someone has to be willing to put in the manual labor to strip it, or aggregate enough of it to sell by the pound to a specialized downstream processor who actually has the right grinding equipment. Harold is willing to be that intermediary.
So he is literally monetizing the friction.
Exactly.
Harold and his black trailer are providing a localized, low-friction release valve for the physical accumulation of our lives. You bring him the stuff the city makes too hard to throw away, and he figures out how to extract the pennies out of it.
Yep, that's it.
He takes the liquor bottles back for the bulk deposit refund. He sells the copper wire. He offloads the e-waste to a bulk buyer.
Yeah, that's exactly the mechanism at play here. He absorbs your inconvenience and turns it into his inventory.
Okay, so we've established the who, the where, and the incredibly specific what.
Right.
And we understand how Harold makes his money downstream, but we need to look at the front end of this transaction. Like, how do you actually motivate a resident to spend their Sunday afternoon loading a leaking car battery and a heavy, jagged computer monitor into the back of their clean SUV to drive it over to a toy store?
That is where the bottom of the flyer comes into play, and I have to say it is a masterclass in behavioral design.
Right. At the very bottom, in bold text, there is an offer. It says, drop off something listed and receive an entry for one of two $50 Noble Toys store gift card draws, and they even display 2 pictures of the yellow Noble Toys $50 gift cards.
It is a beautifully constructed incentive structure.
So what does this all mean? Because let's challenge the math here for a second, because objectively, it's terrible.
Oh, the math is awful for the consumer.
Yeah. Put yourself in the shoes of a local resident. You are dragging a heavy car battery, a tangled mess of dusty Christmas lights, and a heavy bag of clinking liquor bottles to a toy store just for a chance at a $50 gift card.
Just a chance.
There are only 2 being given away. If 100 people show up over the course of 5 hours, your odds are awful. The expected value of your labor is practically 0. So why does a raffle work better than just paying people a few bucks for their scrap?
I mean, this raises an important question about how human motivation actually functions.
Yeah.
Let's look at the alternative.
Okay.
If Harold stood by his trailer and offered to pay people 50 cents for their old chunky monitor and $1 for their heavy car battery, nobody would show up.
I certainly wouldn't. If someone offers me $1 to do heavy lifting on my day off, I feel insulted.
Exactly.
It immediately frames the interaction as labor.
Yeah, when you offer a tiny, guaranteed flat payment, you activate the market transaction part of the human brain. People instantly calculate the return on investment for their time and physical effort, and they immediately realize they're being vastly underpaid.
Right. It just highlights the friction.
Yes. But a raffle for a $50 gift card?
Yeah.
That completely bypasses the market calculation part of the brain. That is pure gamification.
Oh, it turns a miserable suburban chore into a lottery ticket.
Precisely.
Ugh.
Human dopamine receptors respond much more powerfully to a low probability, high reward chance than they do to a guaranteed microscopic payout.
Wow, that is wild.
Yeah, you're no longer performing manual labor for pennies. You are entering a game of chance. The anticipation of potentially winning $50 feels exciting. It recontextualizes the entire afternoon.
And it completely changes the social energy of the event, too. You aren't just dumping trash at a landfill. You are entering a draw.
Right, it's an event.
You are interacting with the store owners. You're chatting with Harold by the trailer. You're hoping your name gets pulled. It creates a community atmosphere rather than an industrial transaction.
And we cannot ignore the business brilliance of the prize itself either. I mean, they didn't choose a Visa prepaid card or a grocery store voucher.
Right. And from a business standpoint, offering a store gift card is brilliant because they are effectively capturing that capital. The money never leaves the ecosystem.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Noble Toys isn't handing out $100 in cold, hard cash that someone is just going to go spend at a big box retailer down the street.
Nope.
They are handing out store credit, which guarantees that the winner has to walk through the front doors of Noble Toys.
Which is the ultimate goal of any retail marketing.
Absolutely.
And realistically, if you win a $50 gift card to a collectible store, you are rarely going to spend exactly $50.
Oh, never.
You are going to walk in, browse the shelves, and find a rare vintage action figure or a bounded comic book that costs $80. And you'll justify it by saying, well, I have this gift card, so it's practically free. And you will happily pull out your credit card to spend $30 of your own money to cover the difference.
It is just a remarkable customer acquisition strategy.
Truly.
It drives hyper-local foot traffic, it ensures the reward capital is retained within the host business, and it dramatically lowers the actual hard cost of acquiring a new customer.
All while simultaneously doing a tangible, highly visible public good for the neighborhood. It builds incredible brand loyalty.
It really does.
It really is a masterclass in local marketing. I mean, we started by looking at what seemed like a chaotic, slightly confusing flyer on a corkboard, a toy store, a guy with a trailer, a chunky computer monitor, and some tangled Christmas lights.
Yeah, just a random assortment of stuff.
But when you synthesize all the mechanics we've just discussed, this simple piece of paper for a Sunday afternoon event in Bolton reveals a highly structured, community-driven approach to solving a very modern problem.
It is the seamless blending of mobile logistics, localized retail strategy, and behavioral psychology to manage the overwhelming material accumulation of our lives.
You have Harold and his trailer providing the heavy lifting and the downstream arbitrage.
Right.
You have the toy store providing the trusted visible community hub and the foot traffic. You have the careful curation of guilt-inducing items to relieve the psychological burden of a messy suburban garage.
Dune boxes.
The doom boxes, yes.
Yeah.
And finally, you have the gamified gift card draw that motivates action without breaking the bank, all while driving future sales for the local business. It's an absolutely perfect loop.
It is deeply efficient on a local level, and honestly, it is a testament to human ingenuity.
It really is.
But, as we wrap up our analysis of this flyer, it leaves us with a rather profound, lingering idea that we haven't explicitly touched on yet.
Oh.
But it sits right beneath the surface of this entire endeavor.
I love when a deep dive leads to a bigger question. Where does this leave us?
Well, we have spent this time marveling at the grassroots ingenuity of Harold and the owners of Noble Toys.
Right.
But we need to think critically about why they have to be so ingenious in the first place.
Okay.
If a local toy store and a private citizen with a utility trailer have to essentially invent a gamified lottery system just to properly dispose of our tangled Christmas lights and our obsolete heavy desktop computers,
Yeah.
what does that actually say about the design of the products we buy?
Oh, wow. That's a brilliant point. The fact that this pop-up infrastructure even needs to exist is a symptom of a much larger design failure.
Exactly. Are we living in an era where the burden of sustainability has been entirely offloaded?
It really feels like it.
I mean, the massive multinational manufacturers who design, produce, and profit from these complex electronics, these lead-acid batteries, these unrecyclable fused wires, they face almost no friction when the product reaches the end of its life.
None at all.
That friction, that heavy lifting, and that cognitive load is entirely passed down to the consumer. And ultimately, it is passed on to community members who have to raffle off gift cards just to clean up the mess that the manufacturers left behind.
That is quite the perspective shift. It really makes you wonder about extended producer responsibility and, honestly, who should actually be paying to fuel Harold's trailer.
Absolutely.
Well, it has been such an eye-opening conversation, and we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
The next time you're walking out of that coffee shop or standing in that community center, take a second. Look a little closer at the community flyers on that corkboard. You never know what kind of masterclass in human behavior, economics, and modern consumerism is hiding right there in plain sight.